My name is Helene. I'm very excited to be hosting this webinar today. And as you can see, I'm incredibly lucky to be joined by two amazing guests. So we have Dr. Yulia Kovalenko, so lucky to have so much experience from the clinical world, but also a life outside of medicine, reminding us that we are also human.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that, Dr. Kovalenko. And being an IMG, I think we also face a lot of other, a lot of problems which American medical students or graduates they do not face. For example, when I was like one of my biggest challenge was when I was in my country, I had no guidance about how to start my USMLEs. So I started with the USMLE step two, I think, which was like one of the worst decision I have made in my life, like starting step two or taking step two before step one. And I was so much I wouldn't say depressed, but I was giving a lot of extra efforts to just score high, but still I wasn't able to because step two is a continuation of step one. And I took step two, I didn't score very well. Then I took step one. I think this was one of the most the decision that I would regret because and later I came to know that I'm not only the person who is in the same journey. There are a lot of people who are taking step two before step one. And there are a lot of other challenges which people are facing just because of the lack of guidance. So that's why we started this, organizing the webinars and virtual events so people can ask questions and do not make mistakes which we did. And later on, when I applied for my, although I got the interviews, but I didn't match in my first cycle. That was a little bit upsetting, but I thought as an opportunity because I thought might be there's some sort of lack of uh, stuff which is I'm lacking something which I have to fill the gap and then I can apply again. So I matched in my second cycle, but at the end I would say anyone who is trying, they are giving their best. Sooner or later they are definitely gonna match. I have seen people matching who are very, very all grad with a lot of failures, step one, step two failure, but still, if I think they are able to, you know, be consistent in this journey, I think they can definitely match.
Oh, it's amazing to see how far you've come, and then IMG Helping Hands, how so many people you're able to reach them and help them as well. That's also very inspirational. And thank you so much for sharing that part of your story with us, Dr. Zain. And then I was gonna add, yeah, of course. And I was gonna ask you as well, so both of you, just with the application process, do you think there's anything that IMGs can do now that can make their application stand out, that can make it that just that bit better, that can make it more likely for them to match from the first time?
I want to say that, with step one becoming pass or fail, certainly step two score is the only way for us to stand out, I want to say, compared to Americans, because obviously they're going to be prioritized. That's out of the question. So scoring well on your step two is going to be very important. Doing as strong of a clinical rotations as you can in a sound places like maybe Cleveland Clinic. I know they do accept IMGs. Other big places, Mayo Clinic does accept IMGs as well, so you can get good letters. Followed by research, publishing your papers in good solid journals is something that people are going to look at. But I want to say that probably strong letters along with high step to score are two the most important factors that are going to be looked at throughout your application season. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna continue with this. I know the step two CK scores, I think these are like very, very important because a lot of residency program they apply a filter for 245, 50, 55. So now these days, since step one is pass and fail, a lot of people take USMLE step three before even starting their residency. So that's also one of the things that can give you ahead of curve. And one of the most undervalued is stuff is you a lot of people they don't know about the virtual webinars or the virtual events which the residency programs conduct. And there are a lot of conferences like I think of 2 weeks ago there was a family medicine conference and there were like around 600 more than 600 residency programs there were having their booth over there in the conference, and every booth had their program director over there, so people were able to network, were able to talk to them, and this is gonna give you a lot more interviews. According to you, like past experience, networking is also one of the most undervalued, which people are. Although a lot of people are focused more on the scores, more on research. I know they should do so, but I think networking is also one of the most undervalued and should be valued a lot more as compared to what it's done.
So
That is
Dr. Zain,
actually true. Yeah,
oh yeah,
I
please.
just
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to highlight that because I completely agree. And although I did mention to the program where I had zero connections at, I still had probably around 7 or 8 interviews that were provided by people I knew from the program. So yeah, getting to know people who can say a good word about you, recommend you for a interview, that's extremely important.
Just on the topic of the virtual houses that you brought up, Dr. Zain, someone in the chat is asking how can they find out more about them?
So if you like now these days, a lot of people are making their list from Frida, from Residency Explorer. Whenever you see any residency program, open their website, and when you see if they have any virtual event coming, they're gonna mention on the website. Let's sometimes what happens is that if you don't see anything, there are some central hubs who post on their social media, and we also connect with them, also post on our social media. So just keep track of the social media, keep track of Instagrams of the residency programs, of their websites. They post over there, and you can attend, because the way I would distinguish this would be, because when they do a virtual webinar, there are not more than like 200 people who join in the webinar, and those 200 people have the opportunity, and then a program also sees them. Okay, they are really interested in our program, so they would see with those people with a different eye. At least their application would be reviewed.
Okay, thank you. So then, from what I've gathered, so the networking is a very critical skill, essential thing for people to do using like the virtual open houses, as well as strong letters of recommendation, and then some research publication and a high step two score. Can I ask you both, is there anything specific you think about your application that might have made you stand out, or something that you think you did differently that was really good? Just something personal towards you guys?
Mm, I can start. I think for me was probably back then I had pretty high scores. I think right now 250 to 60 is not something you can impress anyone with, but back in the days it felt like a good score. Research, I had several good publications with American doctors that I met at the conference actually. So again, the importance of just getting connected with people, doing research, if that's remote research opportunities, that can all help you get additional interviews and point to discuss during your interview. And I think interview skills are also important because by the end of the day, if you're selected for the interview, that's a common sense. You're probably already qualified enough to join the program, and then it's your responsibility, sort of say, to impress them during the interview, because by the end of the day they're looking for a good team player, they're looking for a good person who's gonna match with their climate in their residency program. So just being able to tell stories outside of medicine, just make jokes and be open and be transparent about everything, I think that's important as well. So do practice your interview and try not to sound like a robot, although you're gonna probably practice your answers to those question lists that are out there. What do you think, Dr. Upton?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that. And in my scenario, like my scores were not that great, like as the average scores. But for me, the thing that helped me the most was the networking. And even I used to ask the people who I network if they can help me, and connecting with other people with other residency programs, and shooting an emails, and just introducing myself, that I also exist in this world. So this is how I know I got the interviews and I matched the place where I'm.
And then just for the networking, are there any other pieces of advice you'd give on how people can improve their networking other than the virtual open houses?
I want to say that you can approach people at conferences. If you know you're interested in a particular topic, or you know this person is active at research and you happen to be at the conference. Honestly, I met my research mentor in Russia when he came from the US to do some talk on mock surgery. I was doing dermatology residency back in Russia back then, and he was the only American doctor who joined the conference. And I just approached him, and we started remote project together, and it ended up being one of the most cited papers on my resume. So use any opportunity. If you are about to approach someone, it's always better to read a little bit about what they do in terms of research, what their interests are, so you can maybe ask them questions that would also incite interest in them collaborating with you. Um, Messaging people through social media helps sometimes, although some people can get overwhelmed by that and might ignore your message. Um, and just if you have someone whose email is available somewhere under the research projects or on the paper, you can always reach out to them as well. When I was in residency, I was reaching out to people from the main UPMC campus through the email from the website, and that's how I found a couple of solid research projects that helped me get the good away rotations later on. So I want to say every opportunity, just be polite, try to respect everyone's privacy, and try to be polite in your email, because um, some of the messages that I get totally look weird, and I'm not looking forward to, connecting with these people who are indecisive if they want to call me Mr. or Miss. I've gotten messages like that in my Instagram. So just try to think about how you're gonna, advertise yourself and present yourself, because everything matters.
Yeah, that's a lot true. A lot of people also, the first conversation, they don't even introduce themselves, and then they just send a one line, "Hello, doctor. Would you be able to recommend me to your program?" And that's it.
Yeah, it's good that they said hello. Some people don't even say hello. They're just like, okay, how do I match into Mayo Clinic neurosurgery program? Something along those lines. And that's a real example. I'm sure people who are in this webinar today would never do such a thing, but just be aware of how you communicate with people, because they might even not notice your message, and if they do, it gotta look good on their end.
Yeah, that's true. I think the first message could be, rather than asking favor from somebody, yeah, like you just try to connect with them. Just you can shoot a message or an email that just wanted to introduce myself. I'm this. I'm applying this year, and rather than asking any favor, I don't think so. In the first message, you should ask any favor, and later on, I think you can tailor your messages or emails in the way that you want to bring value and you want to help other people, rather than asking help from other people. I know it's going to be the other way around, but still, it's a psychological perspective. When a lot of people reach out, they are asking, okay, would you able to recommend, and it's sometimes it's practically not possible. So I think if you want to just distinguish yourself, just be polite in your first conversation and don't ask favors in the first conversation, at least.
Okay, all right. Good to know. This is really good to take in. Don't ask favors. Be very polite, introduce yourself well, and sort of just talk to the person and communicate well. I hope everyone's hearing this really good advice as well. And then I know both of you as well mentioned research a little bit. I was going to ask, how important do you think research is for competitive specialties? Because I know a lot of IMGs might not currently have research done, or they might not have any publications. So what do you think about that?
I think that's extremely important. You're talking about fellowship match, right?
Yeah, I mean fellowship match or even research when applying. Oh yeah, fellowship match.
Yeah, so I think that's extremely important, because some of the programs, they do have cutoffs in terms of how many publications they want you to have. And I want to say that connections in research, they become more important compared to your USMLE scores or any other things during your fellowship application. So I think for IMGs, nothing is impossible in terms of fellowship match. What they're going to probably look at is the residency you were in. So the more academic environment if there was any affiliation with the bigger institution, that's gonna be your stronger point on the CV. But then research is extremely important. I would say that if you can just plan your away electives ahead of time, start during your intern year, because you're gonna probably go during your second year, and then try to go to better places where you can get good letters and also get some research connections. And it's important to start your research as early as you can. For some specialties, case reports on, some small conference, they're not going to matter as much. You can do those just to make your CV look longer. But then a lot of places are now focused on looking which journals you published in. Like Curious is not going to be the strongest point. Publication in Curious is not going to be your strongest point on the resume. So it's better to kind of try to join bigger projects, which could lead to stronger publications. It might be tough, specifically if you're doing residency in a community program. But again, go to conferences. If the national conferences, which are varying, depending on the specialty of choice, for me was ASCO ASH that I went, and I met so many mentors there. And I was able to go to Harvard because I met my mentor at ASH with there was a special session for trainees to find a mentor, and then I was able to start some research on AI with one of the residents over there. So it's like, everything matters. Just try to do as many collaborations as you can, talk to people in the conferences, and try to do as much research as you can from day one of your residency.
Yeah, I think I do agree. The first of all, the research, like research is an add-on. Before that, you have to be, having what's required, which is you need to be very good at your electives, have great letter of recommendation, and then these days everybody have those. Like now, just to shine yourself, you just to get ahead of the curve, you just have to show something else. Like okay, might be research, because in research in the residency we choose some research projects as well. And the program, let's suppose if I'm going to a community program, where a lot of faculty members, where they would not be too much interested in teaching research, but still they would expect, okay, if a person who know a little bit of research, so we don't have to spend a lot of time in training about research from scratch, who don't even know what research is. So that's why I think they look into if you guys have a few publications or might be some sort of research experiences. And yeah, as Dr. Kovalenko mentioned, the Curious is not one of the great journal. Is a good start. Like let's suppose if you're a medical student, you are just starting in publishing research, you don't know how to publish, you can start with Curious. It's like a decent impact factor, like around 1.2 or 1.5. But I think if let's suppose you have 10 publications, all are in Curious, that would not be the right thing to do. So you have to jump, or you have to step up for other journals, might be just present in the conferences or publish in some other journals.
And then for some people who are like struggling maybe to publish in other than Curious, or they're struggling to get started with the publications, I think IMG Helping Hands has a sort of research opportunity program. Could you tell us a bit more about it, Dr. Abdin?
Yeah, we do help the people who want to learn research. We do have a lot of mentors. We connect them with those mentors, and where they can get help and then publish, or just not just learning research, but they are also able to publish research. We also help in connecting to the conferences, so the people can go and present their abstracts in the conferences.
Okay. Well, thank you. I hope everyone heard that as well. I'm just gonna have a look through the chat to see if there's any more questions, and then let me just have a look really quickly.
Meanwhile, I was just wondering, Dr. Kovalenko, do you did you ever face a problem because when the diplomatic ties between the US and the Russia was not very great? So do you think that was impactful in your journey in terms of getting the visa or coming to the US, going back?
Not for me, honestly. I know some people did have issues. People from my country had some issues, and specifically recently, I think they stopped They stopped doing the J1 visa appointments for some time, for several months. You couldn't schedule J1 visa appointment. Fortunately, I think this program is restored right now. But as far as like being Russian in general, I never had any problems with like crossing the border or getting my visa approved. So my experience has been good so far. But I also like I want to say one thing: if you're about to get a visa, no matter whether that's H1 or J1, do look at the visa approval rates. Just make sure you don't go somewhere where they have issues with approving people's visa. So that's something that I looked at, and I went to Dominican Republic, which is known to be like great with visas and everything. So that's been my experience. But overall, I wouldn't say that I struggled too much.
Got it. Okay. That sounds great. I think like these days, I think the diplomatic ties are also getting better with Russia.
Yeah, I think Trump and Putin are good friends. So
Yeah.
Hopefully, then things will get better.
yeah.
No. Well, I think I'm having a bit of a struggle and I'm not able to really access the chat properly.
Yeah, me too. I can see it actually. Oh no, I can. Hold on. I'm in it now. Let's see.
Are you
Oh,
in it? Okay.
yeah. Okay, there's a long message. There is a question about internal medicine being all able to set up their own practice and do procedures such as ultrasound, joint injections, mouth surgicals. And I want to say yes, as long as you get some training and get certified. Internal medicine license allows you to practice a lot of things in this country, even like some biopsies, some dermatological procedures, multiple things. How to find research opportunities during med school life? Well, that's dependent on where you do your med school. If you're, I mean, I don't know, there are probably no AMGs here. So if you are an IMG, try to find someone in your institution who is known to publish in a world-known journal somewhere probably outside of your own country. I mean, I had some research that was published in Russian journals and that was also considered a research. However, it's always better to have something international, whether those are European journals or American journals, or go to conferences to just find out who is active in terms of research and try to get connected to them. Okay. How do person manage his or her expenses during the period between fellowship and residency if someone wants to do fellowship lately? I mean, typically people start working as an attendings, and I want to say if you start working as an attending after residency, they say it's better to save some money for your fellowship years because you might get used to a better lifestyle. But if you're just sitting there doing nothing and just doing research, I don't know, maybe you can save some money while you're in residency, although that might be tough because residents are not getting paid that well. Um, some questions got answered already. Um, I'm a research faculty. However, I don't have some time availability to provide mentorship for someone outside of EVMS because like I have way too many duties in my own institution. So I don't do remote research at the moment. But if I do, I'll probably announce that on my Instagram because there might be some projects that would open some potential opportunities for remote research. So just follow my Instagram and I'll let you know if I'll be looking for a team of someone who can help remotely.
Doctor, if you can also, spell the name for your Instagram so people
Sure.
can follow.
I'll just type it in the chat.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Should I keep going with questions or?
I think let's take one more. I can read the questions and then
Okay.
Okay. So there is one question. Hello everyone, and thank you for such an informative webinar. I'm an IMG from Belarus, applying this year, and I was wondering if you have an advice on how to best prepare for the interview. I'd really appreciate any tips you can share. Do you want to go with the answer, Dr. Gobel?
Yeah, sure. So I would say definitely find the list of most commonly asked questions because those questions are going to be asked. You're going to be asked, what is your 5-year plan, 10-year plan? What are your strengths, your weaknesses? Do have examples of yourself taking care of patients, difficult situations, your strengths, your weaknesses, and be able to provide examples, real examples, not cliche examples that you found on Reddit, something that you actually encountered yourself, or even ask ChatGPT to create a good example for you. I think right now there are some opportunities to do interviews with AI. I even advertised one of them without like getting paid for it on my Instagram. I actually tried it myself. There's AI app you can find. I posted one of the reels about that. It's relatively cheap compared to human interviewers who are getting paid for it. I think it's like $50 for subscription, and then you can do several interviews, and it provides a good feedback. If you don't want to do that, you can even talk to ChatGPT, record it, and then he's going to give you feedback. Practicing with real humans, so your own study partners, people who are applying this year, giving each other's feedback. Try not to sound robot, because you're gonna learn, your story, and some of the questions you're gonna memorize them, but still try to sound real and just emotional on the interview. So yeah, I want to say get as much feedback as you can. Practice your English. Practice makes perfect. But once you're in the interview, be able to get flexible around those questions, because no one wants those cliche answers that you memorized from someone's Word document. Those are my tips. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a lot true these days. Just be yourself. Like because if you're just gonna give the generic answers, you're not gonna be you're not gonna be the apple of the eye of the person who is interviewing you. Just tell your story. That's it. Even if that doesn't mean that you don't have to prepare for that. Prepare in such a way that it should not look like it's robotic. Just like you're talking to someone, but you're prepared.
I agree. Like again, they're looking for a person, for a normal person who can join their team, be a good team player, can make a joke, can support their core residents on a nighttime call. So they want to know if they want to see you as a core resident on the nighttime call, or if this attending is going to want you on the team around others. Because again, if you're invited to the interview, you're probably qualified enough in terms of your scores and research and everything. So now they're exploring your personality. So
It's perfect. And Dr. Kavalenka, people are still asking about your Instagram ID. I think they
did
were
I
not able
not
to.
mention that in the chat? Hold on.
Yeah, I'm not
Did
able
I
to
not
see.
send that? Just 1 second.
Okay. Or what I can do is, after we are done with this, I can, tag you on my Instagram story so people can follow you from my story.
Okay. I
And then I
think,
think, yeah.
yes, here it is.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. We got now. I think let's finalize our webinar. Our last question, I think this is Dr. Zik, an IMG. He said, I'm interested in plastic surgery. I know I probably shouldn't be here, but I don't mind learning from anywhere. Is there any way pointing me to always or people in my field to learn how I can match into plastic surgery since it's quite competitive? It's hard finding mentors.
I want to say you have to marry program director of plastic surgery residency program. That's just a joke. I've seen people posting stuff on Reddit and on Facebook, some IMG stories of matching into ophthalmology, plastic surgery, but you know that you will have to sacrifice a lot of time of unpaid research time, probably, of making connections in order to match there. Because plastic surgery, you guys, I'm friends with American student who is planning on applying to plastic surgery, and she is working really hard. The mean amount, I think, or like the minimal amount of publications that you have to have is probably around 30 in American journals. So you can imagine, even for AMGs, that's a very hard job. It's almost impossible to get interview outside of your medical school as an AMG unless you have recommendations from your program director or unless you have connections there. So that's just the situation, right? Now, if you go there for unpaid research and you make a great amount of research, probably that's going to take you years. You make good connections. nothing is impossible. I want to say that the chances of matching there is on the lower side. I do believe in miracles and I do believe in connections and hard work. So if this is something, if that's something that you want and that's like the goal of your life, go for it. You're just going to sacrifice a lot of your time and money to achieve that goal.
Yeah, that's a lot true, you know. But I have seen a lot of people who were consistent and they were able to match in neurosurgery, plastic surgery, even if they were IMGs. So what I think is anything is possible. So just you have to stick to the plan.
The other thing that you might consider, I mean, that's going to sound crazy, but you can always do the other residency before that, whether that's like general surgery or even preliminary year. In the meantime, you can establish some connections. I know some people get into dermatology through internal medicine residency, and while doing that, they establish some connections. Again, takes a lot of time and effort, but nothing is impossible.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much,
I was
Dr. Kovalenko. I think it was a great session, and thank you so much, Tulin, for moderating such a great session. And I'm going to see you guys in Chicago in October when we are doing the in-person podcast. So yeah, bye bye from my
Thank you,
side.
everyone.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so much,
much.
Dr.
Thank you for
Abdim, as
inviting
well.
me.
We really enjoyed having you on our webinar today. Thank you so much to both of you. You shared so much insights about your experiences today, and I hope that everyone gained as much insights as I did today. Thank you again, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day or their evening or wherever they are in the world.